If you've been scrolling through endless pages of ranges, watching video after video trying to figure out whether a gas-only, electric-only, or that mysterious dual-fuel beast is the right fit, you're not alone. It's easy to feel stuck between the promise of a professional-grade cooktop and the fear of ending up with a piece of metal that looks great but doesn't actually help you get dinner on the table. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and in the next few minutes I'll walk through why the ZLINE 36-inch classic dual-fuel range might finally be the answer you've been looking for, or why it could be a misstep for your kitchen. First off, the whole idea behind a dual-fuel range is to give you the best of both worlds: the instant heat response of a gas cooktop and the even, consistent baking environment of an electric convection oven. That promise sounds perfect on paper, but the real test is how those two systems actually behave when you're juggling a weekday pasta sauce, a batch of cookies, and maybe a quick stir-fry for the kids. The ZLINE Classic series leans into that promise with a 6-burner gas cooktop built in Italy, each burner featuring auto reignition. In plain English, if a flame gets knocked out, say a pot boils over or a sudden gust of wind sneaks in while your balcony door is open, the burner will light itself again without you having to scramble for a match. That safety net is more than a fancy tagline. It's the kind of reliability you notice the first time you're sautéing onions and a rogue splash extinguishes the flame. On the oven side, the electric convection unit preheats noticeably faster than many standard models, which cuts down the idle time you usually spend watching a dial spin up to temperature. In practice, that means you can start a roast and have the oven at the right heat within a few minutes, not the usual 10+ you might expect from a traditional electric oven. The landscape-style oven window also gives you a wider view of what's happening inside, so you can check the browning on a chicken without opening the door and losing heat. For home cooks who rely on visual cues rather than timers, that window is a subtle but useful advantage. Now, let's talk about the dual-function burner. It's a brass element that can run as a regular high-output gas burner or switch to a simmer setting that keeps a low, steady flame. If you've ever tried to melt chocolate or keep a sauce warm for a long stretch, you know how frustrating it can be to juggle a tiny burner that never quite reaches the right temperature. With the dual-function burner, you get a dedicated spot that stays low enough not to scorch, yet still gives you the quick response you'd expect from gas. It's a small detail, but in a kitchen where you're often multitasking, that kind of flexibility can save you a few nervous moments. The quiet operation of the range is another practical point. Many convection ovens crank up a fan that rattles dishes or makes the whole kitchen feel louder. ZLINE markets its unit as ultra-quiet, and from what I've heard from owners who actually have the range in their homes, the fan does run at a lower pitch and seems less intrusive than the typical whine you hear from competing models. If your dining area is open to the kitchen, that reduced noise can make conversations over a meal feel more natural rather than constantly battling the hum of the oven. Who should consider this range? If you're a home chef who regularly sears, deglazes, and finishes dishes on the stovetop and also values precise baking, think artisan breads, layered cakes, or even a Sunday roast, the dual-fuel layout fits naturally into that workflow. The 6 burners give you enough real estate to run multiple pots at once, while the powerful gas flame gives you that restaurant-style control. The fast preheat convection oven is a win for anyone who's tired of waiting for the oven to catch up, especially in households where dinner time feels like a race against the clock. On the flip side, if your cooking style leans heavily on either gas or electric but not both, you might be paying for a feature you'll rarely use. For example, a family that mostly bakes pastries and rarely cooks stovetop meals could find a gas cooktop more of a maintenance headache than a benefit, especially if they're not comfortable with gas line installations. Likewise, if you live in a rental where you can't modify the gas line, the dual-fuel concept could become a deal-breaker. And while the range looks sleek in stainless steel, it does require a dedicated space of at least 36 inches wide, so small kitchens or apartments with limited countertop length may need to reconsider or look for a narrower model. A practical weakness worth noting is the weight and size of the unit. At 5.2 cubic feet of oven capacity, they'll have plenty of room for large roasts, but that also means the oven door is heavier than you might